The anaconda's trap and the brave girl's story. The jungle was ancient, alive with secrets, and filled with shadows that clung to the trees like ghosts of forgotten times. Every sound was magnified: the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a bird, the snapping of twigs under unseen feet. Into this wild place stepped a girl named Elara, her heart bold though her path was uncertain. The air grew heavier as she moved closer to the riverbank. A stillness settled upon the jungle, a silence so deep that it pressed into her ears and made her skin prickle. Elara felt as if the world was holding its breath, waiting for something to emerge. The river stretched before her, dark and endless, a mirror of the sky with no stars to light it. She leaned closer, her reflection shimmering across the surface. But as her hand dipped to gather water, the surface rippled unnaturally. At first she thought it was the wind. Then she realized the truth. The water itself was alive, disturbed by something massive beneath. A shadow shifted below, stretching wider and wider until it filled the river. Then, with a slow and dreadful grace, a massive head broke the surface. Emerald green scales shimmered under the dim light, slick with water. The anaconda had arrived. Its eyes glowed like molten gold, locking onto her with a predatory intensity that pierced straight into her soul. Its forked tongue flickered out, tasting her scent, drawing the line between prey and challenger. Elara's heart thundered inside her chest, but her legs refused to move. She knew that running would be a death sentence. This was the serpent's domain, and she had walked straight into its trap. The anaconda's coils rose from the river, one after another, each as thick as the trunk of an ancient tree. It circled her slowly, deliberately, its massive body gliding silently across the earth and water alike. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, but another voice inside whispered of courage. She clenched her fists, forcing her trembling body to stay rooted in place. The serpent's head lowered until its golden eyes were level with hers. Its gaze was unblinking, powerful, suffocating, as though it sought to pierce her thoughts and unravel her spirit. The jungle around her seemed to fade. There were no birds, no insects, no sounds. Only the pulse of her heartbeat and the hiss of the serpent's breath. Then the anaconda struck, not with fangs, but with a sudden sweep of its body. Its coils snapped forward, looping around her in a circle that cut off her escape, creating a living prison of muscle and scale. Elara gasped, but instead of shrinking back, she raised her chin and met the serpent's stare once more. She would not be broken. The anaconda coiled tighter, inch by inch, testing her, as if waiting for her to collapse in terror. But Elara stood firm, her breath steadying, her will refusing to falter. The serpent let out a low hiss, a sound that vibrated through the ground and rattled her bones. Yet within that hiss, Elara felt something strange. It was not rage, but recognition. The coils loosened slightly, and the serpent tilted its head, studying her anew. For the first time, Elara sensed that she was not merely prey, but part of a trial, a test written long before she was born. She dared to reach out, her trembling fingers brushing the scales that glistened in the dim light. They were cool, smooth, and alive with power. The anaconda did not strike. Instead, it remained still, as though accepting her touch. In that moment, a strange bond was forged, one of respect rather than fear. The river behind them rippled again. But this time it was not the serpent, it was the jungle responding. But if awakened by the courage of the girl and the restraint of the beast. Elara felt her fear melt away, replaced with awe. The anaconda, once the symbol of terror, had become a guardian of secrets too vast to understand. Yet danger was not gone. From the underbrush came the hiss of smaller snakes, drawn by the presence of their colossal kin. The jungle seemed to close in with menace. The anaconda lifted its head high, its body forming a wall between Elara and the advancing serpents. It hissed a command, and the smaller snakes slithered back into the shadows. Elara's breath caught. She realized she had witnessed more than survival. She had been accepted into the serpent's domain, shielded by the most feared creature of the jungle. The serpent uncoiled slowly, deliberately, leaving space for her to step forward. Its massive head lowered once more, not in aggression, but in something akin to a bow. Elara took the step, and in that step, she felt herself crossing into legend, into a story where the girl and the anaconda were no longer enemies, but bound by courage, respect, but the mystery of the jungle itself. The serpent slid back into the water, disappearing with barely a ripple, as though it had never been there. Only the imprint of its coils remained on the soil, proof that the moment had been real. Elara stood alone at the riverbank, her reflection now shimmering with a new strength in her eyes. She was no longer just a girl who wandered too far. She was the girl who faced the anaconda's trap and lived to tell the story. And though the jungle returned to life with the chatter of birds and the hum of insects, Elara knew that the bond remained. Somewhere in the depths of the river, the serpent watched still, waiting, guarding, testing the courage of those who dared to enter its realm. The jungle whispered her name now, carrying her story through the trees. The brave girl and the mighty serpent. A tale of fear, courage, and a trap that became a legend. The river flowed on, timeless and eternal, hiding secrets in its depths. But for Elara, it would never again be just a river. It was the place where destiny had coiled around her and revealed the power of bravery. Her footsteps carried her back into the forest. But the bond would remain, stronger than words, stronger than fear. And thus began the legend of the anaconda's trap and the brave girl's story. A tale the jungle would never forget.